Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be doing a tutorial on a Discord channel banner design, and a channel banner being a banner you can upload anywhere within your server if you have upload image permissions, and then below it you'd put text or anything else that you want, and essentially helps keep the channel organized or any announcements you might make organized. Now the following design is rather basic, and I think it's great for people who are just starting out with Photoshop to use. And if you don't own Photoshop, a great alternative is called Photopea, photo and then PEA at the end, and it's just a website that works similarly to Photoshop, though of course if you're doing anything more complicated then Photoshop is the way to go, but Photopea or Photopea, however you want to pronounce it, is a great starting tool for people who just don't want to pay for Photoshop or aren't quite familiar with what they're doing just yet. So without any further delay, let's jump right into this tutorial. I'm going to start off by going to File, New, and we'll be doing 940 by 240 for our canvas. And I should note all of the files and fonts you need will be linked in the description for you to download. So if you want to skip the entire tutorial and you just want to get access to the template, that is going to be in the description. Now we're going to come over to this left side and go to our rectangle tool. And we're just going to drop it down randomly because we're going to come over here and make adjustments in just a second. If you do not see the properties window, go over to window, go down to properties, click that. It'll pop open right around here, and you either leave it there or you can drag it to the side to dock it. Now, for this, we're making it the same exact size as our canvas, 940 by 240. And let's just go ahead and drag that into position. And as for the corners, we want them at 33 pixels. Now, we're going to go into our blending options, go into our gradient overlay, go to our gradients, basics, let's click this one, and we want linear. Let's actually pop this up because we're going to make some adjustments to the colors. So we're going to be using the following color for the first side, and then for the other side we'll be using this color. And then pause if you have to, go back and pause if you didn't get those codes, then okay. And I'm just going to adjust it so the lighter comes from the left and darker comes from the right. I'm going to adjust the scale a little bit so it's a little less blended. There we go. I'm going to call this the base. Then I'm going to do a Control G and call this the base area. Now I'm going to right click on the eyeball, make it red, just to keep ourselves organized. Create a new layer, drag it out, go ahead and group it with Control G, and we'll call this the thumb, or just the icon, character icon. And I'm using anime characters, but of course, just swap it out with any other image. Could be scenery as well. I just picked an anime character, but anything that has a nice background can fit in this section. When we turn to the left and just drop this down. For the color, I highly recommend you choose something like a bright red. This is so when you overlay an image on top, if there's any holes where you overlaid it, you'll be able to easily spot where the mistakes are at because it's really bright red. I'm going to call this the overlay on here, and I'm going to grab my image. Let's see here, copy image, and let's paste that in. Leave it there for a second. And coming back to my properties, I want to go ahead and set this as 208 by 208. 208 there, and then 208 down here. And then as for the corners, I'm going to want them at 18 pixels. I'm going to drag this up while holding shift so it stays on whichever axis I start dragging it on. Drag it to its center there, then drag it left until it is nicely lined up there. I'm going to right click, go to blending options, go over to drop shadow, and I want the following settings. 80 here, then 0 for my distance, 3 for my spread, and 13 for my size. And this helps this side pop. If you don't like that, you can of course feel free to remove it. Double click here, call this my character, do Control T. Actually, let's make sure I'm on the character layer first, make it visible. Control T, go over to my width, add a minus to flip it. Go ahead and drag this down. Actually, maybe dragging it down was unnecessary because it's already pretty good size. You can either hold Alt and click in between to clip that, or right click and create clipping mask. It's up to you which one is easier for you. And I will actually bring her down just a bit. Now, depending on how this is set under transform with the little chain, you either have to hold Shift when you drag it down to keep proportional, or you can just drag it down if that link is already clicked. In my case, I had to hold Shift, and my character is now in. Now, I'm going to return to my base area, create a new layer, do Control G, and this will be the music line. I'm going to go below it, back to my favorite rectangle tool, drag across. Don't worry, of course, because we're going to go over to our transform and make some adjustments. For the width, we want it at 650, and for the height, we want it at 6. As for the corners, 3 pixels is perfect. And when we come to the color, we'll be using the following. Perfect. I'm going to set it here for now, as I like how this is positioned, though I'll move it up or down when the time comes to add the bottom section so everything fits just a bit better. This I'm going to call the darker line. Control J, we'll call this the lighter line. And this one we'll be using the following color. And we simply do a Control T. I'm not going to hold Shift this time because I don't want it proportionally adjusting. I just want it to adjust this direction. And you can just leave the line wherever you want, because of course this is just indicating how far you're into the current music track. I'm going to leave it here, but again, up to you wherever you want to leave it off at. And finally, create one more new layer for this section. Use the ellipse tool. I'm just going to drag this down while holding Shift. And I want this at about 16. 16. And same thing, the lighter color so it blends in. Go ahead and make sure that is centered. And voila, I'm going to call this the dots. Music line is done. So let's create a new layer again, Control G, and we'll call this the music controls. I'm going to go over to my shuffle icon, drag that in, repeat icon, drag that in, and then these music icons, of which I can delete this one and actually just drag in these here. And I'm on the marquee tool, switching to the move tool, and I am just dragging that. If you're not able to drag it, you can simply edit, copy, and then Control V over here, or edit paste. Let's hide all of these, and I'm going to start with my shuffle and repeat. These I'm going to bring all the way down to about that should actually be a pretty good size for them there. So this one is, which one? This is the repeat. That's a shuffle. The name's mixed up, and this is repeat. As you can tell, I do not use these tools often myself when I listen to music. So this one, I'm going to line up at the bottom. Simply going to drag it over. And the shuffle, I want to also line up with that one and drag it over to about the same distance. Drag repeat up, go into blending options for repeats, go into color overlay, and let's make it the darker color to indicate that it is not currently selected. But if you want it to be selected, you can just leave it the lighter color. I think this adds some nice contrast though to the image. As for this one, where we can adjust it all down together. And let's put it right around here. Yep. Let's go right click, blending options, color overlay, and let's make it the lighter color. Rasterize layer style. And this left side, I'm going to do a Control J. Right side, Control J, and then middle, after highlighting over it, Control J. Delete that. We'll call this the Control G play button, play button, play icon. This is skip, and this is rewinds. For the I misspelled play. For the play icon, I'm going to add a new layer. Go over to the left side for ellipse tool. Just drag this down. Do not want to fill. I want a stroke of that same color, and we want this as 55 by 55 with a 3 pixel stroke. Go ahead and move this right there, make sure it is centered. And this play icon, we can go ahead and make this smaller. And let's go ahead and center that as well. Use my arrow keys once to finally adjust it while I'm on the move tool. Now we return to our skip and rewinds. So skip, I'll start with that one. Though I should probably check to make sure this play button is centered. As centered as it's gonna get. The skip button, I want, that's the rewind button. Skip button, put around there, and the rewind button, I'll put around there. And I actually like how this music bar ended up, so I'm gonna leave that for now. Come back to it just in case after adding the text if it does not work out, but I think it's fine. Then Control G, we'll call this the text, and let's go ahead and make this blue. I'm gonna make sure my text is white, and I'm using the Nexa bold font, and I'm gonna put down our rules. So with properties open, you might notice this setting right here with 2 T's, large T's. Any of these settings here with the large T's, these are all caps. So this is small caps, this is all caps. I'm gonna unclick all caps, actually everything's selected. So everything is actually properly indicated. I actually made this a capital accidentally. Rules. Our rules, and I'm going to click left align, so whenever I type or retype something for a new banner, it's going to align to the left. And this actually ended up being a nice size. It lines up perfectly with the top, and we lined up with the left of the music bar. Now I'm going to do Control J, drag this below, and as a sort of protection against anybody stealing the banner, though anybody with Photoshop could easily just edit over this, I'm going to go to Nexa Light, type 2K Discord, and make this super small underneath. And in terms of the music, this would be the song name, and this would be the song author. Pretty appropriate, I think. And I'll swap it to soft light. You can actually try making our rules soft light as well. It could be a nice look, especially if you go in and add a drop shadow or something along those lines. That could look really nice, but I'm gonna leave it as normal and leave it up to you as to how you want to customize this. And then as a final step, before I forget, back to our base area and add in a heart. Gotta bring my heart in, but here it is. Drag that in and make sure it is the same color. To indicate it's not currently hearted, I'm going to use a darker color, but it's also a nice contrast. So I'm going to bring this down, and the sizing I want to be as tall as the D over here at the most. So that is nice. Make sure that it's lined up. It's best as it can be. And then I'm just going to drag it over. And I think I'm going to drag it down actually. Alright, and that's basically it. No, make sure you rasterize our base, go into blending options, and I almost forgot this step, add a inner shadow. This helps it embed a little bit into Discord and gives it a nicer look as a banner, though you can leave it out if you decide it doesn't quite match your style. To actually save it, you need to File, Save As and PNG, or File, Export, Save for Web, and these are the settings that I am using. Well, that's just about it. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and other than that, I hope you have an awesome day.